Archer is fantastic. I definitely consider her a friend.
We got to hold the line against the other team, and it was very cool.
You just want to make content and just have something you can look back on. You win.
All of that time and energy. I'm just so happy, so grateful to have been there to experience this.
Good evening to all my fellow nerds, and welcome back to another episode of Fast Tracked, a brand new podcast dedicated to the phone flinging community and the people that make it awesome. My name is Archer, and I am your dedicated veteran, admin, world-class queen of the hype, and host of Fast Tracked. It has been a hot minute since I got to look at my last script, which was recorded back in early May of this year. So we're looking at, over 3 months delay. Not good, guys. Not good. But I have a reason for this, I promise. Life has been keeping me pretty busy, more specifically with a career change, because in these past 3 months, I had been going to Fire Academy, going through in-house training as a brand new paid firefighter for the state of New Jersey. It's been wild. I've been learning a lot, and I really want to thank my Nerf community in getting me to where I am now, because it's a lot of learning, it's a lot of new training, a lot of teamwork, and yeah, I've been very busy, so I appreciate y'all for your patience and helping me navigate through this new chapter in my life. So thank y'all very much for that. 3 weeks ago, we had our annual APOC weekend, an event that has been around in the Northeast for the past 20 years as of this year. What was really cool this year for me is that I was a brand new Uno admin and also got to be the head medic for this year's event, something that was new that we were bringing in for the first time. And I gotta say that there is a lot of work involved. I learned a lot. There was an incident that happened which allowed me to respond in a quick manner. How do you handle that in a large scale environment? I got to work with 8 other admins, guys that I am particularly close with, a good handful of them, and it was just a really good learning experience overall. Now, what's interesting about APOC is that it's not just one event, but it's actually 2. APOC, which is the casual event, coincides with BPOC, the competitive sister event that happens the next day. We're going to be talking to the only 2 admins that managed to pull off both APOC and BPOC. We're going to bring back Gotham, otherwise known as Goot, the man, the myth, the legend, who is known for his visual effects on and off the field of all things media, for both Uno and TNT events. We also are bringing on Jed, otherwise known as RougeContra, the vice president and founding member of Uno, co-founder of TNT, our very own East Coast Yermeister, foam flinging comp coach, and legendary Short King. He has been hosting foam flinging events since 2017 and has been working the competitive scene since FPT 2019. Thank you both for coming on for tonight's interview. We're going to start things off with the question that I always ask my fellow guests. We're going to start with Jed. How did you get into the hobby, and why Nerf?
What's good, Sam? Thank you for having me, and it's good to be on the same panel with Gotham. Screw you, dude. Love you, bro. So,
Jed, why Nerf?
So I want to start with that question because Nerf is honestly, it's more affordable to invest in than other shooter sports like paintball and airsoft. Not a jab to any other shooter sport, just more the fact of I'm broke. That, just be real here. Also, the access to 3D printing has really elevated the hobby and accessibility. So I can always ask a friend to fix something for me, and even though I spent a lot of money on these blasters and gear and organizing equipment, it's always a rewarding experience every time I get to play. A close friend of mine, who was also a coworker of mine, who we both mutually know, miss you, Kelvin. He invited me to a Nerf war that was hosted by NYCNO at the time. And him and we went to, I think, Toys R Us and just bought rival blasters and stuff like that, and we just like were so excited to go, and when we went, I was hooked. And next thing we knew, we were all admin bodies of the club. I invited Gotham, who came along early too, and look where he's at. um, Honestly, like, and through our competitive spirit and friendship, we helped grow the scene from playing in the back of the Met Museum to running one of the oldest and biggest Nerf wars in the hobby, and a tournament. I remember the first APOC we went to was all the way. I forgot what park it was, but it was
Joe
filled with so many.
Palaya.
What was it? Joe
Joe
Palaya?
Palaya. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun, but when you have like a modded Strife versus like 4Bs and like 250s like pump blasters, like pump snaps and stuff, what are you gonna do? But no cover? What can you do?
I love playing, and as much as I love playing, I also love capturing the like the cool moments that happen during gameplay with photos and video and all that. But and also as Jed mentioned, my start in the hobby was pretty concurrent with his, where we were all like a mutual friend group of me, him, Kelvin, another mutual friend called Jose. Like the four of us kind of got into the hobby simultaneously, and I had no experience of Nerf as a hobby at all. I just thought they were like toys for kids, and then I went to a party where Kelvin brought like all his blasters, and I'm like, oh, okay, this looks kind of fun, and joined I think a few events after Jed first tried it out. I joined, and
You got a
it kind of grew
Zeus.
from there. Like
You got a
we
Zeus.
got super into it, and the organizer at the time, Ness, we became really good friends with him,
President.
and I think like it was
Yes,
just a
sir.
really perfect storm of like meeting like-minded people who we got along with and vibe with, and wanted to keep meeting up and playing. And I think that's really the main reason why we even got involved in adminning and like trying
Yeah.
to grow the club even more.
Honestly, bless Ness though, like for his like during that year, he was just down to play every weekend.
Sometimes twice a
And
week.
yeah, like we did a 3 day casual event, like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah, we did. In the back.
When was this?
This was like year zero NYCNO Uno, like legit, like the I don't know, like
The
the
origin
pre-sheep.
story.
Yeah, like straight up how Uno became, and it was just like one of those fun times. It like really Ness's consistency was showed like a metric of like what we needed to do in the future, you know, and the amount of energy he put towards like organizing, and then like as much shit we gave him, much crap we gave him for team balancing and all that other stuff. Like through that, like we got all this too.
I feel that in our hobby, there's this. You have to have a goofy nature to it in some way, shape, or form, because you are running around with a kid's toy. But what's also special is that there's this passion to every individual player that when folks come together, which Uno does a great job in, you have that silly nature, but everybody really cares and wants to see the hobby grow. Would you say that all of that really shined through in the creation of Uno? Because I feel like it would have to be, otherwise it wouldn't be as successful as it is now.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not like saying we always clicked all the time, as you see. We always have our little spats online and stuff like that over, dark caps. Love you, Ness. but it's more the fact that like we all like were very adamant in like what we wanted, and the same goal was to grow this club so we could play on more fields and have more blaster battles and see what we like and everything like that. And each like, and echoing what Gotham said, like we each of us did have a skill that we wanted to accentuate, which did add to flavor of how Uno operates. And Ness being our strong leader, like consistently like running the wars, dealing with like all the weird politics of the internet and stuff like that, and just honestly being like an overall like cool head for all of us like adults playing with kids blasters. Like that's like a really strong skill of like being able to like mediate situations and everything like that, and delegate like rules and stuff like that. And Gotham the artistic self he is was able to bring over like his photography and videography and he's doing all these amazing things with the stream.
Mhm.
For me, it was like more of the organizing aspect because I did like a side gig of like event organizing, like poetry slams and like events and festivals. So I took that and then like pulled into here and then uh, through a lot of like negotiations got them. I built the Discord where, and then now we're here instead of doing like 5 like Facebook messages. I don't know if you remember that, but for each different thing.
Yeah,
So
we used to be in all our discussions happened in one single Facebook group with like 20
Oh my
people in
God.
it. It was terrible.
nice.
It was terrible.
Now
Oh
you're
my
lucky
god.
if you can fit multiple threads into one server
Deal.
on Discord.
Yeah, absolutely. But like each of us had something we want to really like get across, and we did, and it made the group better. Kevin and Ben being like our wardens in New Jersey, and then there's now you, Sam, as well, are running events in New Jersey, and we have like
Hey.
players, Taras, running Queens games every other weekend like we used to back in NYC. That makes me feel old.
And we had our connection to the roots of Nerf through Rob, the resident
Elder.
Resident
elder.
historian
Yeah.
extraordinaire. We were talking a little bit about your first APOC events, but 2021, when COVID was no longer a thing, Uno did the passing of the torch from Nick Marvin, who was the
Yeah.
OG of APOC weekend. What was that like for you?
It was interesting. It was fun. It was like I can't speak for everyone if we were like completely excited or anything like that. It's just like, it's pretty cool that we have the reins of like one of the biggest Nerf events on the East Coast, and to be able to have like be able to like plan that and then organize it under like our own terms of like, okay, what are we thinking for the new players? Like they want cover, they want this, they want that. Honestly, like I can't really speak for myself then. Like it was kind of like, okay, cool, we have something new to look forward to every year, and now it's something to look forward to every year that we get to like innovate and like refine every time. So we make sure that all our players that come around from all over the world come back with their own APOC moment. Like a very tailored whatever event like fun they had here. I'm glad they had it.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that it felt like I would say it felt very natural purely because that's the only kind of APOC that I ever knew. Like I personally have never attended an APOC not hosted by us. And 2019,
Really?
even though 2019 it wasn't officially an Uno event, it was hosted by us. And like Nick Marvin asked for our help, and it was Ness running the games and the rest of the Uno admin team helping him, or at the time, NYC Nerf Ops and NJ Nerf Ops people helping him out.
What year would you say was the transition? 2019 when you were helping Nick Marvin, or 2021 when you could actually run a full event?
2019 was the
Handing
handoff,
over, right?
and 2021 was when it was
At
like
Cousins, right?
completely us. Yeah, and we switched the venue to Cousins rather than being at a public park because of the what you were hinting at earlier was like all the snafu that happened with the venue in 2019 where we got kicked out of 2 different locations, and like why that happened, like
Amazing.
that's been spoken about like
Ad nauseum.
at length. So like yeah, we ended up in a pretty cool location for 2019, except for almost everybody getting covered in ticks at the end of the day.
Oh, the
Pretty terrible
tick-pocalypse.
experience. Yeah, I was itchy for months after that APOC. That was a real apocalypse.
I got really lucky though. It was a really beautiful field with all the tents and everything like that, and then it was just the post-trauma was crazy.
So yeah, like it. I think because we held the next one at a Cousins Paintball, which is our usual venue for Cataclysm, it just felt like, oh, this is a Cataclysm that's twice as big, and that changes a lot of things. But in terms of organizing, I think the good thing about APOC is that everybody sort of understands that like this is not a like this is still a very grassroots and very sort of like community driven event. Like it's not, we're not doing this for a living. We're not like APOC still doesn't really have sponsors or funding or anything like that. We pay the venue fees and that's it. Everything else that's provided or done by the admin is done because we love the hobby. And I think the attendees also have the understanding that like this is a passion project and it takes everybody's involvement and everybody's initiatives and efforts to make it successful. And so it doesn't feel like a it doesn't feel like a job that we have to like hit like all these metrics or whatever. Like obviously we're trying to provide the best event we can, but at the end of the day, we're there because we want to play as well.
Have there ever been any challenges in maintaining that consistency? Because it sounds like obviously you build this trust, you build this reputation with the venue because we've been going for so long now. But do you feel that there's any kind of pushback sometimes in folks who want a change of venue or new elements going into APOC? Or has that not really been anything you've seen?
I think since we've moved APOC to Cousins, I think a lot of that has been kind of resolved for us in terms of it, because like we already have kind of like a field that's always changing because it's pretty much in the private airsoft field, and they're always adding new stuff to it every other time we go there. So it's like it's not really much of a struggle per se of maintaining consistency because APOC has its own prestige and people will come. It's just more so of like consistently making sure the games are running, like it's the stuff we normally do, but like more focused and like it's still a lax environment, obviously, because it's hot and we're all trying to like the admins are already locked in to make sure everything's going. So yeah, no, we don't necessarily have to worry too much about consistency, or we never really had an issue of like anyone asking to change the venue. We have talked about it a couple of times, but like $15 for a private airsoft field, what more can you get for an entire day?
Yeah.
Like not even limited by any form of time. No one's going to come and kick you out. Like we have a very good relationship with the place, and we hope our players help us maintain that relationship. You know, clearing up trash.
A lot of the people who come to APOC, like I think well over half of the people who come to APOC, they don't really attend our other games because a lot of times they're like living far away, or this is like the one Nerf event of the year that they make time for. So for them, the venue is still pretty special. Like we go there maybe like 5 or 6 times a year, but for them, for a lot of people, Cousins is like a really awesome, unique experience. And then for those of us who do go more often, experiencing that location with twice as many people or 3 times as many people as normal is also a pretty cool experience. And like, I think a big part of APOC is also just as much as playing. It's also about like meeting all the people who are traveling from far and wide, like reconnecting with old friends who you haven't seen for like Nerf events long past. So there's a lot to it besides just the venue. So I think people are pretty happy about it. And I'm saying this based on like we usually do a post APOC survey that we put out, and at least going by that, people haven't said nothing but good things about the location and the games we run.
I still can't believe that APOC was over 100 people this year, and I guess it goes to show that it's only getting bigger in quantity and in reach. Like we had people from the West Coast that came out this year, which was pretty.
I will say like it is definitely a challenge to like, because we're from very different backgrounds. Like some of us work in IT, some of us are teachers, some of us are like I do graphic design. Like we're not really event organizers professionally, but we've ran so many events that we have that experience to bank on to make sure we run a quality event. But definitely, as the numbers start breaking 3 digits, it does get challenging to keep everything flowing smoothly. This year, for example, and so like I feel like incrementally we have been making things better. Like I know us all getting radios was like a major tech up moment.
awesome.
It was like, oh, finally we don't have to be screaming across the woods to like get each other's attention. Because I really also wanted to highlight your contribution to this year's APOC, because until this year we didn't really have an official medic station or like official medics to go to, and I think that was something that definitely came in clutch this year with the crazy heat and humidity. So I think like that's another thing that we rely on, is like fresh blood coming in and bringing in new ideas and new initiatives.
Blood. Yeah, okay, new initiatives.
Yeah, so like
this.
the whole the medic
Change.
station thing, that was entirely your initiative. Like you gathered the volunteers and you put that together, and I think it went really well. So it's really stuff like that where people sort of adopt little causes for themselves within the organizational effort, and you get enough of those kind of people who really care about the club and the hobby, and you run a great event.
As more players start coming in, as the years just continue to stack, we can't ignore the fact that competitive is very much growing throughout the country, if not various parts of the world, right? And APOC is no exception. And from what I remember of last year, BPOC, the sister of APOC, was going to be a thing, was not going to be a thing, and then it very quickly became a thing. And what was interesting with BPOC last year and trying to put all that together is the turnaround between both events. So, being as the only two admins who do both, did you guys want to talk about the dawning of the most casual competition ever? Period. How did that come to be? What was
what
your planning process last year? Putting that on.
The number one casual competitive event, period. I think that's the tagline.
I was close.
Yeah.
the comp is in there.
It's definitely not the most casual, because people try hard pretty, you know.
No, dude, no, chill.
It's
no,
casual only in name.
It's the most casual comp. Casual. Come on, man.
Well, I mean, BPOC, just from the name, I think you can tell that it started up as a joke. Like, oh, it would be really funny if we did a second day to APOC and, you know, we could call it BPOC. Just AAB, whatever. And
yeah, bless Jason.
I think it kind of sparked from there, and then Jed, Jason, and I have been running TNT events for about a year at that point, and we'd attended End War that year, I believe, or End War was the year before, right?
2022, yeah.
Oh, we'd had MFT that year, right, and MFT that year was like really, really awesome, and it sort of like gave, I think that along with like I think the complete disaster that was FPT, followed by how great MFT was, and then MFT also having been organized by our dear friends at in the Maryland Foam Alliance, it sort of like gave us the idea that like, oh, this having like a 2-day event would be really awesome. It would be great for people who are making a long who are traveling from far for APOC, to have another event that they could make a weekend out of. And actually, I think it was like Andrew Dartsweep who sort of like was pushing us to do it, because he wanted to make the long drive this time.
He was messaging us, and he was like, so, because we had a group chat trying to talk about it and trying to get it rolling for a while, and then when we realized we weren't going to get much like assistance on the first BPOC, we kind of like left the chat dead in the water, and then out of nowhere, like with a sensu bean or like a monster reborn, man hits like, so hey, is this happening or not? And we're like, it might not happen. No, it's happening. I'm like, all right, Andrew. Okay, it's happening. It's happening now. But yeah, like like to answer to go back to your question, like tackling that whole turnaround between both events was low key kind of stressful. Because remember we went to Uno's or whatever like the night before, like after APOC, and that we were waiting for like almost 2 hours like for our table, and didn't really get to like I stayed at Gotham's that night. We didn't get to
Oh,
his
you're talking about
place
this
and
year.
like I guess comfortably like yeah, bro, like this one and like the turnaround for both of these. Um, it was like we only like got at your place around like 1:30 comfortably, and then just waking up for BPOC. It was just like, oh, how do we have the energy?
BPOC, the roots, we can trace the roots back to when Jed and Jason formed TNT Events, which is sort of a little competitive initiative that they started in order to build up the scene on this coast. And I ended up joining later down the line, and we'd been running events for about a year at that point. And our events had been fairly like modestly attended, like the most of like 20 to 25 people. So tackling BPOC, it definitely felt like we were nervous about it. Like if we get as many attendees as APOC, or
Yeah,
even like 60, 70 people, like
how are we gonna
can
manage that
we
many
manage it?
teams?
Like up until then, TNT Events had been basically effort between Jed, Jason, Josh, and I. So it was the four of us sort of
Josh,
running
yeah,
everything. And while there's just 20 people there, and nobody really cares about stakes, and like quite often we're playing with like mixed teams and stuff while we're training everybody up. It was that's like really casual. But then like BPOC felt like much more of an undertaking, and yeah, we were definitely nervous going into it, and we needed the push from someone like Dart Sweep to be like, we'll help you out, and we'll help you make sure that it goes smoothly. And yeah, that was, I think, BPOC year one in 2023 was like our confidence building event, where we got to experience what it's like to run an
yeah.
event attended by 50 plus people, like 10 teams of 5 or more, and just seeing what went into running an event like this, and taking those lessons, and realizing that, okay, if we focus our efforts and build a team, then this is something that we can take on by ourselves.
How do you, within
Oh,
those few hours turnaround, how do you prepare for that transition? You were just talking about Applebee's, how we were soaked, and you guys didn't get back until really early in the morning.
yeah.
I was exhausted just from the one event, and you two were running both. So I'm curious in how you handle that transition.
So like to that question, like Jason, Gotham, and myself, we both have each of us have our like own individual strengths that we're like very focused on with hosting BPOC, and so we usually like to check in on each other, or we have a chat where we just like make sure like, do we have this, do we have that, and this is like months, weeks, days leading up to the event, so we make sure each of us are good. And with Gotham and myself, we're in that special case where our energies is pulled into two different zones. So it's like, pretty much how do we mentally and physically prepare for it? When it came down to like planning casual like APOC, it was like a lot more lax since like we've been again going to echoing Gotham's statements before. We've been hosting like on that field for so long, and like it's just making it bigger. So and also running APOC already for what
Mm.
like 4 years, 4 or 3 years, and now like we have like a checkbox list of things that we're already anticipating, and like a separate list of new things that we want to implement or innovate, like your medic booth, like and everything like that, and the protocols for that. That was definitely a new thing, a new addition for this year, which was like greatly welcome and like really dope, and love to have it next year, of course. When it goes to hosting BPOC, it's on a different. It's the complete opposite, in my opinion, when it came down to running it to go into casual comp. But like by then, like again, like going with checkbox lists, like we already like I said, we were doing that days, months, weeks, days before BPOC, and still like we were having meetings during APOC to make sure we got our heads together what's going on the moment day of, because it's a time crunch, because like unlike APOC where we literally have access to the full day, at SDA we only have access for
7
about
hours.
6 hours and 7 hours, and the moment those doors open, that's when the time's rolling, and we want to get people playing within at least hopefully an hour to an hour and a half, maybe like once we get registration done and the field set up as well. There's a lot of planning going to that. They're setting up the stream booth. Like Gotham has to focus on adjacents, making sure that like the basic operations are going. I'm taking care of our teammates with I'm working close with Josh. We build systems before we get on that field. And we put in time and meeting and like making sure that each of us are good and ready for the day of. Gotham, I don't know if you I'm going to quickly like side note for BPOC this year. I don't know if you knew the panic that was happening with both Jason and I during BPOC this year, but like remember that cable we
Yeah.
crimped and like installed in SDA? So when the network wasn't, the Wi-Fi wasn't working, like you weren't connecting, Jason like pulled me upstairs like, "Yo, bro, I need you to do this." Handed me the crimp tool, new heads, and I'm
I
like,
did not know
"Okay,
this.
baby, let's figure this out." I was about to crimp a whole new. It was insane. It was insane. This was like minutes
This was like
before
on
we started
game
doing
day. Game
briefing.
day
It was
BPOC?
crazy, and then on
Yo.
literally minutes. I'm telling you, before we were like, you heard me urinating on camera. You heard me getting everyone hyped. Seconds. Like I was about to crimp a
Oh
whole new
my
cable for
God.
the whole
Yeah,
entire network. It
for
was
background,
crazy.
the venue where we play
Yeah,
where
it
we
got
decided. So we've recently been, or not recently, it's been a year at this point, but we've been getting into streaming, and for most of the time we were running off of Jason's hotspot, and obviously that just wasn't sustainable, and so yeah, Jason
thank you, Jason.
with the kind donation from Darshan of like a mile of Ethernet cable, we actually set up a Wi-Fi
Love you,
network for ourselves
Darshan.
at the venue. APOC is definitely a lot less moving parts. Like the field is already the field; it's set up. We just show up and we unpack and get our gear. And really, people management is the biggest concern of the day. And like keeping, you know, even keeping on schedule is more about, we don't want people to get bored. Whereas at BPOC, it's like if we don't stay on schedule, we might not be able to play all the games. And the field is a blank canvas. We have to set up the obstacles. We have to make sure everything is like, we have to set up the streaming gear, like the cameras all around the field and all the wiring that goes along with it, and
Cable management, safety.
making sure everybody's situated and like setting up the systems for refing and ammo checking and all that stuff. There's just way more moving parts when it comes to something like BPOC. And yeah, registration.
I'm also forgetting
Which, like,
registration. We have
like at
reason
APOC,
why
that's
we
something
need
that's
money.
taken care of by the cousin's office. But here we have to plan for that, and really planning is the key to all of it. Like we had multiple planning meetings for APOC, and we did the same for BPOC, and just trying to make sure we have that checklist of all the stuff that needs to be paid attention to and taken care of on the day, and then on the day you're going to deal with problems that crop up, but at least you're limiting it to that.
Armageddon is the APOC equivalent, but out on the West Coast. They had just had their event, Armageddon, out on the West Coast. Do either of you have any interest in attending Armageddon at any point in the future?
Me, absolutely. I would like to try all competitive formats and try to compete in all the tournaments. It's just a great scene, and I like to play on different fields and meet different players. It's just always a good experience.
I want to play at all the events, like I would if I
personally
could. And Armageddon, especially now that they added the competitive section. I think CFT was this year was the inaugural event, and that definitely I think previously I was like
games.
previously I was like kind of on the fence about it
Kale.
because yeah, personally I don't actually love events with a ton of people. Like I kind of prefer the 15 to 25 range events just because it's not, and not just as an organizer but as a player, it feels a lot more tactical and less chaotic. But I think the main draw for events like Armageddon and APOC is just all the people that you get to meet. And so for that reason, like now that we've made friends, Jed and I, along with Jason, we've been going there. We attended Ragnar Oktoberfest, which was really awesome, and we made a lot of friends there. And then the friends that we've made over the years attending events like End War, getting to see them has been really cool, and it's really fun to sort of go over to different regions and see how they play, because like all the clubs, they definitely have like their own little flavor of how they run games and how the play styles have sort of evolved, and experiencing that is pretty cool. So I think, yeah, just for that, I would like to check out Armageddon, but really it's the addition of the competitive event that's made me way more interested in attending.
Did you, kind of segues into my next question, Gotham, did you see anything from CFT maps wise and apply it into BPOC? I was supposed to have gone to CFT, but fire reasons could not. And one of the things that we had talked about in our meeting, because we had several meetings via Discord, was the map design and how unique it was compared to what we were familiar with on the East Coast. Having seen that footage, did you apply any of those elements into BPOC?
I think they. I mean, I designed the maps for TNT events, and when I design maps, I look at all kinds of references. Like I'll look at Speed QB maps, I'll look at Speedball, Paintball maps, and obviously MFT and like the sort of Nerf competitive, except for Andor. Who gives a shit about Andor? But
Was never here.
no, I can't take inspiration from a field with like 8 pieces of cover. But I definitely like. So Kale, who was the driving force behind CFT, is our teammate on Nebula. We played at the most recent Maryland Forum tournament together, and he's a really cool guy. And he definitely like, from the looks of it, he did a really great job with CFT. At least judging by like the little bit of footage that I've seen and the reviews from the attendees. And he actually was sharing his like layout drafts for the map with us to like get feedback before the event, and I managed to have like a little bit of input on it. And yeah, I think like it's like less so me taking stuff from it than both of us were drawing from the same inspiration, and we sort of like were thinking along the same lines. And I think we had discussions about stuff like that at MFT. Like one of the big points of contention that we had with the MFT field was the snake was it was tiny, or it was a little worm. It was not a snake.
Mm-hmm.
And it was cool. Like for us at TNT, we were kind of limited by, just what kind of like inflatables and mobs that we have access to, because that stuff costs money and we can only get so many. And so like, I think the thing with CFT was they partnered with like a Nerf business, and they were able to acquire like multiple lengths of snake pieces, and they made like a really nice long sort of snake side. And that was something that like I've always kind of wanted for our events too. So it just sort of worked out that like we had Neil from Maryland Foam Alliance and Shelton from Virginia. I don't remember the name of their club, but they offered us use of their inflatables that let us build up. So Shelton gave us the snake pieces that let us build the snake side at BPOC, and Neil got us the bricks that we used on the
Thank you, Shelton.
on the ladder side, I believe it was being called.
Mhm.
The ladder side was definitely something like I I sort of
Yeah.
I had a I have a similar perspective about how the two sides of the field should play, where the snake side is like more of a creeping playstyle, whereas the ladder side is sort of like different positions that you fight to like climb up slowly. And CFT's take on it was definitely pretty interesting, and yeah, I would say it influenced how I designed the field for BPOC, but it was definitely like a mixture of that and what I've been seeing in like different speed QB and speedball fields.
It's really interesting because like lately, like I've been put as like flag runner or like mid runner for most of the time of being on Nebula, and or at least like us playing together. And it was really cool now that I could just actually just be a fighter on the field. You know what I mean? So it was pretty rad that like I got to like play this. I played Snakeside most of the time and like had a lot of like fun results off of it. Great runs. I didn't really understand like personally how people had issues going to Snake or getting through Snake. People kind of took that little the tent with the slant flat half cover more so as a safety pick than actually taking the head of the snake. So I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of like one of those things where you're just kind of clashing swords and like freaking sparks are flying until one of us gives. You know what I mean? Kind of like deal. And then you just kind of take over the field. It's just like I'm just surprised at the number of people who like felt like Snake was unplayable or like unable to
My
push.
my philosophy when it comes to designing fields is I want people to fight, and I think at least watching, I notice. I mean, it kind of happens when it comes to
Yeah.
competitive because people hate losing, but they tend to uh, sort of default to a more defensive playstyle, and that's what I was noticing that people who that was the difference I noticed at people who succeeded at the snake versus people who failed is if you want to go to the snake and just sit there for the next 30 to 45 seconds, then yeah, it's not really that great a place to be. But if you're going there waiting or looking to climb up and fight your way forward, then that is where you want to be, because that's where you can move up and get the cross angles on the enemy team. And I think that's why I saw Jed succeeding, because he was there to fight. He wasn't there to sit and wait for the next thing to happen.
Because if you stay there and you stay there too long, usually you're out. Like
Exactly.
that's it. You know, unless the
I
flag
was
runner is
getting
already
so
going ahead,
frustrated.
and then at that point, then you gotta change your what the priority is. I
My
loved that snake personally,
Banger
so
job.
you were like, I had such a bad time with it. It's like I don't. Yeah,
I
Yeah,
that's all
I
I
was
can
it
talk
getting
was
so
my
about. So
favorite
frustrated
snake.
watching people,
Nah.
like you would have one person, two
No, it
people on
was
snake,
too good.
and there would literally be nobody watching the outside, and so it was an open lane that you could run up and bunker someone, but people just didn't want to bunker.
Oh my
Like
god, bro.
it would be that section would have no eyes on it for like 10, 15 seconds at a time, and I'm just looking like, what are you waiting for? Why don't you just move up and kill this person?
I was by the booth and we were watching the snake fight happen, and both players kind of like had some mini mental truce and decided to fire inward for like 40 seconds straight, not even peeking their lane. Like any one of them, they decided within that like minute to like jump the other. Like they had time, and it just
That
didn't
is my
happen. It was
big
so
big
like
hope with the stream
excruciating to
is
watch, but you know,
I'm really hoping that it sort of levels up the players
do better.
who are playing at
exposure
a rank.
therapy.
Yeah, because like that's how I got better. Is like I saw footage of opportunities that I'd ignored, that I didn't notice at the time. But like looking back at the stream, you can see like, oh wow, that entire lane was just free for so long, and I didn't do anything about it. And you see all these like opportunities that you could have capitalized on. And I hope that players who played at BPOC, they can look back and use that as an opportunity to improve themselves.
What would you say is next for a BPOC weekend next year? Anything learned from this year that you're looking to possibly change for next year?
So like the main thing right now is like we might be planning to change the date to a more cooler weekend because like I get it, like the ritual the first Saturday of August it's good for everyone to plan every year to go to, but like if we keep within the realm of like that within August or September or something like that for more cooler weather, I feel like we would have less risk and more time for more games.
Yeah, for context,
That's
when
kind of like what we're like
Uno
dabbling
got
around
handed
with
the reins to APOC,
at the moment.
the sort of one
And
major stipulation that we had was that we have to keep it at its traditional date, which was the first Saturday of August. But I think they weren't really accounting for climate change and just how terrible the start of August is in terms of weather. And after this year, when we had someone nearly
climate
pass out from
change.
dehydration and like sun exhaustion, I think, yeah, we put out a survey, and it seems like people are in favor of us moving APOC to even sometime later in August potentially. Like we're in the third or fourth week of August, right? Third week of August right now, and
Third week of August. Yeah,
it's
it's been
already
3
so
weeks.
much nicer than it was when we had APOC.
Third,
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was like,
yeah.
well, I don't do Fahrenheit, but it
Today.
was like
Today
22
was
degrees
great.
Celsius yesterday. It was like, damn, if I could play APOC at this weather, that would be great. And obviously that will affect BPOC as well, because we want to keep those events paired and allow people to attend both. We're still like working out like what kind of games to run at APOC, because it seems like the more sort of like complicated games they require more
You
setup,
think.
and like it takes a little bit longer to explain the rules to people. And yeah, we might like go back to like just playing
Cooperation,
more
planning,
315 style games where it's just very simple, like go out there and tag people, and when your lives are out, you leave the field, because that's really like the core of why people go to play anyway. So that's something that we want to explore. And then I think maybe it's just tough because what the biggest challenge of APOC is, the field is pretty inaccessible to us admin. Like it's an hour and a half away from any of us, and most of us don't drive. So like going there to like plan out, oh, this is gonna be the extent of the staging, this is gonna be the different spawns, and let's test out how balanced these spawns are, or let's put objectives in the field and make sure that they're equidistant from either spawn. Like stuff like that is like, it's not really very feasible for us, especially when you consider planning that on the scale of 100 plus people versus a kata, which is 25 to 30 people. It's very, very different. So to some extent, like APOC is just going to be chaotic, but hoping that we can make just small incremental improvements on that front, like as we learn what works and what doesn't work for people. BPOC, I think, is going to be sort of more. That's the one that'll see maybe like more noticeable changes, because it's just
casual.
so young and we're learning so quickly all the things that we can do. Like,
Noticeable changes, he says.
And this
Last
year's
year
stream
we
was
didn't
actually
have
like
a stream. This year we got a stream.
It was actually
and
like
better Wi-Fi.
this year's stream was actually like had a lot of problems that I'm glad that people didn't really notice them that much, or like they weren't it didn't affect their enjoyment of the event. But I definitely have a lot of like issues with how the stream went, and like realizing like, oh, things I could have done to improve it. So that's something that I'm very excited to get another shot at and do it right. Like I've been working on like graphics and overlays and stuff for the stream that like just all completely failed on the day off, and so we only had the live feed, which is like, that's the main part.
I remember this guy. He was so excited. He showed me, and it was like the coolest thing ever. And then like he was very, very sad when it was like, oh, I couldn't do it on the day of. Like, bro,
it's so
no one
there's
Gotham
things we want to
noticed.
work on,
It's okay.
for sure. Yeah, I definitely know. Like after the weekend after
Gotham
APOC
was
and
sad.
BPOC, I legit felt
that's
hungover.
fine.
Like I
He's
felt
doing
like
that
I'd been
shit.
on like a weekend long bender, and I was just like, my brain was fried. I was like half depressed. But as I recovered, I definitely like have a much better view of how the weekend went. Oh yeah, that's the other thing. I think we were on a combined like 7 hours of sleep for that whole
Oh
weekend.
yeah,
And
we didn't. Like total. Oh,
Yeah.
dude, damn. Yeah, you and I were so fried by like Monday, and we had to work.
That was rough. I don't want to get home at 2 a.m. on Saturday
Yeah,
night.
we're
I would like
adults.
to
We got
remind
backs.
everyone on here, once again, we did the Applebee's at midnight in sopping, like, wet clothes.
Yeah.
Totally soaked.
It's really unfortunate that like one of the best things about these events is like the post event meal where you get to like all sit together, especially when you're on the ad or organizing team, like getting to sit together and just like reflect on the day and uh finally just sort of like relax a little bit and talk to your friends. It's really nice, but
Connect.
when it results in you only having 3 hours of sleep for the next day's events, it's maybe not worth it.
Gotham. What is next for you? You want to insert any socials for us? Where can we find you?
Well, the big one is United Nerf Ops for me personally. That's where I post. That's like it's the club account, so to speak, but it's kind of become my account. I like saying I like saying I am Uno.
It's Gotham.
You are your
It's
own
Gotham.
brand.
It's Gotham.
I am Uno.
You don't need a page
Bro,
for your
just
own
flex
brand.
on it. Like, Jesus. Listeners, this is the man who put us on the map with his photos and everything like that. This
So
humble
yeah,
fool.
at
Like
United
no,
Nerf Ops
like
on
it's his
Instagram,
account.
United Nerf Ops on YouTube is where I post like our. That's where I mostly post our like local wars and casual wars and PvP stuff, and then the TNT events Instagram and YouTube is where you'll find our comp focused content. So like I'm contributing there along with a few other members. But the stream that I'm running for TNT events, you'll find on the TNT events YouTube. Oh, and if you want to check out TNT events website to learn about upcoming events, the website is TNT events, but events is spelled EVNTS because we couldn't afford the extra. Yeah.
We couldn't afford that money went to BPOC. All right, you're welcome, people.
But yeah, that's my socials. What's next for me? I guess just more on that front. I'm just I'm always working to post more photos, post more videos, and put out more content that gets people hyped for the next event, and try to give people who missed events as much FOMO as possible. And that's pretty much my goal.
Very nice. Very nice. What about you,
Swag.
Mr. Meister of Ur?
So Gotham pretty much just shared all of our socials anyway. If you want to ever reach out to me, I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, if anything. But really, just check out the TNT Events Instagram page, TNT Events web page for more updates on events as well. Just double on that. It's TNTEVNTS.com. Very clear with this, people. Like, there's a lot of TNT like companies out there. No, it's TNTEVNTS.
And yeah, if you ever want to chat to us, because we're always happy to talk about all this stuff, talk about our experience in the hobby and what we've learned from organizing and sharing those kind of stories. If you want to talk to us, the best way to contact us would be by joining the United Nerf Op Discord. I don't know if there's an
Discord
invite link. Maybe. Oh yeah, if you go to the Instagram, if you go to the United Nerf Ops Instagram, in the bio, you'll find a link to the Discord, and that's where all the conversation happens about Uno events and TNT events as well.
Yeah, just make sure when you join the Discord, just say you did through the subscription of hashtag FastTracked for 10% off your Uno subscription.
That's a joke, by the way. There's no Uno subscription.
But going with that, what's next for me?
Quick disclaimer.
Disclaimer. To what's next for me, I guess, is more competitive based. My eyes are set on RAG at the moment. Hopefully, I can make it out. Also, like I'm looking to like further progress on building a coaching system or a coaching workshop class in terms of like our hobby. It's fun. Talk about things, Nerf, how to play and how to get into competitive. If you ever want to like any coaching or anything like
With
that.
Nerf and with Life, guys, he is quite good. but I'm not biased at all.
I'm always looking to. Oh yeah, we did do a session and stuff like that. I did one-on-ones leading up to MFT, like 30-minute quick sessions of like what you want to work on, what are your goals in competing in our foam flinging hobby competitively, what to expect when going to events. I'll help you out. But until then, just reach out and let me know if anything if you want to talk competitive. But that being said, like I'm always out there getting people energized, organizing the teams to like our teams to get together and put on a good event. And you always catch me yelling in the distance.
Alrighty, friends. That is going to be the end of yet another event recap. Thank you so much to my lovely interviewees for tonight's episode. Coming up on the next episode is my very overdue Maryland Mayhem recap. Stay classy, stay awesome, and I'll see you all in the next episode.
Here.